I have here a wonderful a question of theory and practice. The questioner calls attention to the fact that religions often lay absolute demands on their believers, but the political process demands compromise. And so, how do people who deem themselves advocates of social justice think about compromise, both theologically and politically? Is it possible to be both boldly ethical and also politically effective?
Yes. By which I mean to say a false polarity here. The word absolutes is not in the Bible. It's not in the Christian tradition. It's a word people invent now to say 100% or nothing. Now, on one level, the Sermon on the Mount is absolutes. You know, Jesus says, absolutely, you don't do this. Okay, and we're going to follow the Bible literally. Jesus says, if any man has ever lusted after a woman, he's got to gouge his eye out and chop his hand off. We'd have 180 million amputees in America tomorrow. These are strongly provocative sentences that give us a direction where we go. Politics by nature is compromise. Paul Ricoeur, the late great philosopher, said, politics knows the dirty secret of history, and that is violence. And politics is a means of restraining that violence and channeling it into positive purposes. You're never going to get everything, but people will be heard, and there's an interplay of forces. And over the long pull, you can do more good than harm through it. But the, quote, absolutes of religion as such certainly have to stir the heart and the conscience. But you can't enact it because, again, the diversity of interests. And again, I think whenever this ends tonight, I'd hate anybody to think that I think that if you say we're for social justice or for the environment, that settles everything. No, then politics enters. There are 100 different ways to decide about taxation and about budgets and so on. There's no single answer there, but again, politics knows the dirty secret. Another British figure, Bernard Frink, said, politics does not save souls. It does not make sad hearts glad, but it is, like music and some other things, one of God's wonderful gifts to people to make the violence and the beauty, ugliness of this world into something beautiful. And that's why I think politics is something that should be cherished.
Compromise is part of politics. I think it's a question of what you compromise. You should never compromise your values and your goals. You should compromise on strategies, perhaps, to get there. And I'll use the example we talked about earlier about healthcare in Washington, what I'm trying to do here. And that is, yeah, I think we should cover everybody. I think we should cover all their medical needs. I think we should have a system that makes sense. We don't have a healthcare system, but put one into a system that makes sense and covers everybody. And I think that's what you have to get. And you don't compromise on the goal, you don't compromise on the value, but yes, even if it's at a great cost, you can get 31 million more people to get some basic health care. That's a movement forward. And so you take that, but then to say, oh, well, we've done pretty good, we're doing okay, no. That means you're compromising on the goal. You never do that. And you should never say it's okay to let that happen. And so I'd say it's always okay to compromise on the strategy to get there, but the question is it a good compromise or bad compromise? Sometimes if you get 3/4 of a loaf, you know, that's a bad compromise because you should have gotten the whole loaf. And sometimes you get one slice of bread, maybe that's a good compromise because you didn't have any real chance of getting anything. But the bottom line is compromise is part of the strategy to get there. It's just it doesn't excuse you from pushing for the goal.